The ground trembled beneath their feet, subtle at first. Then a sharp crack echoed through the cavernous silence. For 3,000 years, this tomb had been sealed tight, untouched, and forgotten. Until now. Archaeologists, armed with cutting-edge technology and nerves of steel, pried open the heavy stone door that legends said guarded King Solomon's final resting place. What they found inside shattered everything they thought they knew about history, and terrorized even the most seasoned among them. If you're as fascinated by these ancient mysteries as we are, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because the secrets are only just beginning. The first thing that struck them was the unnatural stillness. No dust, no decay. The air was thick but electric, charged with something unseen, something ancient. Their flashlights danced over walls covered in strange glyphs, some unmistakably Hebrew, others alien, as if etched by hands that transcended time. These symbols didn't just decorate, they pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat frozen in stone. Amid the inscriptions lay relics defying logic, a golden crown, untouched by time, glinting with sapphires that caught the light and seemed to flicker like living flames. Beside it, a scepter carved from an unknown black stone, cold to the touch, yet humming softly as though harboring a secret consciousness. But it was the scroll, sealed with a wax unlike any known, that drew the most apprehensive gazes. Its script glowed faintly, as if alive, warning the unworthy away. The chamber's floor was unlike anything documented. Embedded in polished obsidian tiles was a constellation, but not any star pattern recognized by modern astronomy. An astrophysicist on site revealed the staggering truth. The map matched the night sky from 961 BCE, the exact year the first temple was completed. This was no coincidence. It was a celestial signature left by Solomon himself. Deeper into the tomb, a narrow passage revealed rows of urns, each sealed and enshrined as if guarding secrets beyond mortal comprehension. Copper scrolls inside bore inscriptions so tiny and complex that decoding them took days. What emerged from those ancient texts wasn't history, but prophecy, a foretelling of a king yet to come, rising not from Solomon's bloodline, but from the ashes of his wisdom, and a chilling phrase repeating over and over, "When the seal breaks, the eye opens." Suddenly, the instruments went haywire. Magnetic fields fluctuated, electronics sputtered, and shadows flickered beyond the corner of vision. A creeping dread settled. The team wasn't just in a tomb, they were inside a trap set millennia ago. One by one, faint echoes of movement traced the walls. One urn was found mysteriously opened, its contents vanished, replaced by a single parchment that wasn't centuries old, but freshly inked. The mark on it defied classification, a fingerprint burned into the fiber of the paper, matching no known species, only fragments found decades ago at the Dead Sea Scrolls excavation. The revelations kept mounting. The obsidian dais at the center of the chamber wasn't resting on the floor. It hovered inches above it, defying gravity without explanation. Around it, the walls rippled with molten glass embedded with star fragments, reflecting epochs past and futures unwritten. A hidden door appeared overnight, where once stood solid stone, revealing a mirrored hall that showed not reflections, but visions, some ancient, some impossible. The final discovery was the crown itself, still warm, as if Solomon's power lingered, refusing to rest. Fear gripped the archaeologists. They weren't simply uncovering a tomb. They were awakening a force older than history, sealed not by stone, but by dread. What had been silent for 3 millennia now whispered with chilling intent. Some secrets were meant never to be found. And yet, drawn by something beyond reason, one of the researchers reached out. Her fingers hovered inches from the crown's gleaming surface. The air thickened. Then, contact. A jolt of static surged through her glove, hurling her backward. She gasped, eyes wide, her arm trembling, not from pain, but from something deeper, something ancient. Her voice barely carried the words. "It's alive." The biometric scanner confirmed the impossible. Residual bioelectric energy, embedded in the metal, still active. Gold doesn't conduct memory. It doesn't store energy. But somehow, this crown did. Beneath the base, they found thin, vine-like wires laced with a material resembling copper. Only it wasn't from this earth. Spectral analysis revealed isotopes with half-lives unknown to modern science. The atoms were arranged, artificially, like circuitry. Next to the crown was a bowl, simple in design, yet emitting a low-frequency vibration. Inside it, a fine, black powder. Lab testing later revealed a composition, including myrrh, powdered lapis lazuli, and crushed bone, human bone. When placed under UV light, the powder shifted form. Tiny glyphs danced within it like activated code, briefly forming a phrase from the Book of Kings. He spoke to spirits, and they obeyed. The throne wasn't a seat. It was a lock. Built into its base was a shallow chamber filled with viscous liquid, still moving as if stirred moments ago. Floating inside was a disk, obsidian, and etched with identical symbols found on the seal of the scroll. A team member attempted to lift it with forceps. The disk spun on its own, fast, then stopped, and every light in the tomb went out. When the backup lamps came on, a second chamber had opened. No one had touched it. No one had even seen it before. Inside, 13 wooden boxes, arranged in a perfect spiral. Not a single nail, no hinges, just interlocked joints, sealed with wax and crushed gemstone. One by one, they opened them. Each box contained a single object, a mirror that reflected nothing, a vial of dark liquid that boiled at room temperature, a blade etched with writing that matched no known script, but its handle bore the crest of David. Each item felt chosen, not stored, placed. A wall behind the boxes began to sweat, bleeding droplets of a thick sap-like resin. Chemical analysis showed it matched no tree, no resin on record. Yet it smelled distinctly of frankincense. Beneath the dripping wall was an indentation, circular, exactly the size of the obsidian disk still humming beside the throne. They inserted it. A tremor rocked the chamber, not from above, but below. The floor beneath the dais shuddered, then split. A staircase spiraled down into darkness, far older than the tomb above. The walls along the descent weren't stone. They were metal, a kind of bronze, magnetized and seamless, forged as if by heat more intense than any ancient furnace could produce. At the bottom, they found a room not carved, but molded. Perfect geometry. Its ceiling arched like the inside of a dome, studded with crystals that glowed faintly when anyone entered. The center of the chamber held what could only be described as a sarcophagus. But it wasn't for Solomon. It was for something else. The lid bore no name, no royal seal. Just a single engraved symbol. A perfect eye, surrounded by 7 flames. They tried imaging through the material, but every scan came back blank. Sound wouldn't echo inside the chamber. No matter how loud they spoke, their voices fell dead within inches, as if the room absorbed all vibration, or silenced it. Suddenly, a low hum began, without source or warning. Monotone, constant. Within seconds, the symbols on the sarcophagus lit up, glowing blue-white and rising in temperature. One of the inscriptions began to lift off the surface, levitating, spinning slowly in the air above. The lead linguist watching whispered, "It's rewriting itself." They captured footage, still frames. In each photo, the symbols changed, minute variations, like an evolving language unfolding frame by frame. A code, perhaps, a story being told in real time, or a command waiting to be read. Next to the sarcophagus, they found what looked like an altar. Above it, embedded in the wall, was a slab of dark glass. Behind it, clearly visible under certain lighting, was a human heart, suspended in liquid. No signs of decay, no tubes, no explanation. It pulsed, faintly, but it pulsed. No human remains were buried nearby. No royal tomb, no bones, only this heart, still beating, still alive. A parchment had been wedged into the altar, stitched into the stone. It took hours to remove. The ink was made of crushed garnet. The message, a passage from a forgotten text of Solomon, never included in any known scripture. Its final line read, "Not all wisdom comes from God. Some must be imprisoned." As they read those final words, the crystals on the dome's ceiling began to dim, one by one, like stars being snuffed out. Then came the breath, loud, rattling, and unmistakably inhuman, rising from the blackness beyond the staircase. It dragged upward, slow and wet, as though something ancient had just drawn its first breath in millennia. The lights flickered. Instruments spiked. Then, silence. Every sensor went dead. The sarcophagus began to glow. Its symbols shifted, rearranging themselves into a perfect circle. At its center, the eye emblem blinked. Once. Dr. Tenenbaum, the team's lead cryptographer, dropped to his knees. He wasn't praying. He was trembling. His voice, barely audible, rasped, "This isn't a tomb. It's a prison." Before anyone could respond, the suspended heart behind the dark glass began to beat harder, its rhythm sinking to an ultrasonic frequency only the nearby equipment could detect. That frequency matched one found only once before. In 1947, beneath Qumran Cave 4, recorded just before the Dead Sea Scrolls were uncovered, and then abruptly classified. A heat bloom erupted from the altar slab, without flame, just pressure and searing energy. When it cleared, an inscription had seared itself into the stone, "Unbind the seventh." The team didn't understand, until a wall panel behind the sarcophagus slid open with a hiss, revealing a narrow corridor lined with 7 identical stone pedestals. On each, a sealed container, ceramic, dark, and humming slightly with internal resonance. The 7th pedestal bore an emblem that hadn't been seen in over 2,000 years, the ancient seal of the House of Zadok, the priesthood directly tied to Solomon's inner temple rites. That same emblem was once recorded only in a fragment recovered near the Ark of the Covenant site, in Axum, Ethiopia, then lost in a fire. Or so they were told. Each of the 7 vessels bore markings corresponding to one of the 7 spirits, referenced cryptically in the Book of Revelation: wisdom, understanding, counsel, might, knowledge, fear, and something never translated. A glyph that defied all language, a spiral embedded in a star. The vessel atop that final pedestal had already begun to crack. From within, a faint sound, like whispering, but reversed. Words played backward. When isolated and reversed again, the audio translated to a chilling phrase, "He who reads will awaken the architect." Beneath the pedestals, etched into the floor, lay an etched map, Jerusalem, but layered like transparent skin. Each layer represented an era: Bronze Age, Iron Age, Babylonian, Roman, Crusader, and a 7th. One that didn't match any known epoch. Entire structures not found in modern excavation appeared clearly. Temples, bridges, monoliths, none of which have ever existed. Yet, when overlaid digitally onto modern Jerusalem, the coordinates aligned perfectly with restricted zones beneath the Temple Mount. Suddenly, the dome began to hum. Not audibly, but deep inside the body, like pressure in the chest. The light dimmed. A narrow slit opened in the base of the sarcophagus, and from it slid a thin tablet, obsidian, cool to the touch, etched in micro-lattice script. Under electron scan, the text resolved into a data pattern, binary, not symbolic, functional. It was a code, an algorithm, ancient, self-referencing, recursive. A type of logic sequence not used in human computing until the development of quantum encryption. MIT's remote analysis team confirmed it. The tablet wasn't just an artifact, it was a program. A self-contained, non-digital operating system written nearly 3,000 years ago. Inside the corridor, a final chamber opened. The walls were covered in mirrors, perfectly smooth, but reflecting nothing. One by one, as team members passed, the mirrors lit up, not with their images, but with visions. One saw Solomon speaking to a being not of this earth. Another saw a celestial gate opening over Jerusalem. One researcher collapsed after seeing herself, older, scarred, speaking in a language she didn't know. Her monitor registered a spike in brain activity consistent with lucid dream states, near-death visions, and psychotropic events, while she was fully awake. At the far end of the chamber, embedded in glass, was a second heart, larger, not human, laced with gold filament, beating in sync with the first. Between them, suspended in the air, was a parchment scroll turning slowly without any visible force. Its surface shimmered as though dipped in oil. It bore no words, until one of the mirrors suddenly cracked, and a single phrase appeared across its face in glowing script. "What you unseal, you must obey." At that exact moment, a tremor struck. Not geological, but electromagnetic. Across the world, satellite feeds glitched. Jerusalem's old city experienced a 22-second blackout. Pilgrims near the Western Wall reported a feeling of pressure in the soul. A single rabbi claimed to hear a voice behind the stones say, "He has awakened." Inside the tomb, the scroll stopped turning. The heartbeat slowed. And then, a sound. Not a growl, not a whisper. A voice, speaking Hebrew, but not like any Hebrew spoken today. The translation chilled the room. "The throne is not empty. The king is not dead." The moment the words echoed through the chamber, the lights pulsed. Once, dim, then blinding. The scroll began to shimmer, its surface cracking with invisible fractures. And then, it vanished. Not burned, not torn. Simply gone. In its place, a symbol materialized in the air like smoke. The eye, encircled by 7 points of flame. It hovered, pulsing, before dissolving into the dark. And then, from the silence, the voice returned. "He waits below." The floor beneath the mirrored chamber shifted. Stone plates retracted with hydraulic precision no ancient civilization should have possessed. Beneath them, stairs, descending into darkness far deeper than ground-penetrating radar had ever indicated. The team hesitated, but something was pulling them forward. Not curiosity, not duty, something else. A final descent brought them to a vast underground space, impossibly large. It stretched in every direction, with no clear walls, no ceiling, just void. In the center, a monolithic cube, blacker than shadow, suspended in place. Floating, not resting on ground, hovering silently. On each side, markings, none repeated. One bore ancient Phoenician, another Proto-Sumerian, one in Aramaic, and one in a language no one had ever documented. The cube began to turn, slowly, intentionally. Temperature plummeted, their breath crystallized mid-air. And then, one wall of the cube opened like a mechanical iris. Inside, a chamber of blinding white. Nothing existed within except a single object, a golden ring, intricately carved. Its surface shimmered with symbols too small to read, but too precise to be decorative. It emitted no sound, yet every member of the team heard the same thing, clear and undeniable. A voice, layered in many tongues, whispering from inside their minds. The seal is broken. The bearer must return. They didn't touch it, but the ring pulsed, and for the first time since entering Solomon's tomb, the walls began to bleed light. From the floor to the ceiling of the void chamber, beams of radiant energy shot upward, aligning with constellations that had not been seen in Earth's sky for over 10,000 years. A second ring appeared, this one silver, darker, embedded in the back wall behind the cube. This ring spun, fast, and behind it, a form, a humanoid figure, not a statue, not a projection. Suspended in fluid, limbs bound by threads of molten glass, eyes closed, crown of iron. Monitors scrambled and then reset, displaying vital signs. The figure was alive. Its pulse matched the first heart found in the tomb above. And next to it, a tablet. When brought near the figure, the glass bindings recoiled, not cracked, recoiled. The figure's eyes flickered open, but only for a second. The chamber went black. When the lights returned, the tablet now displayed a single phrase. He gave wisdom to men, but not all of it. The archaeologists found themselves backtracking, frantic. Something had changed. The corridors were no longer static. Passages twisted where there had been none. One hallway now contained 3 doors. Each bore a seal. One, the symbol of the temple. Another, the mark of the Queen of Sheba. And the third, a serpent eating its own tail, an Ouroboros inscribed in gold. The serpent door opened first. Beyond it, a library. Endless shelves, scrolls, books, tablets, some glowing faintly. But one stood out, hovering at eye level, open to a page inscribed with a map. Not of land, but of time. A spiral of civilizations. At its center, the first temple. At the outermost edge, nothing. The paper itself seemed unfinished, as if waiting for something. Or someone. A motion sensor tripped. Cameras caught the flicker of movement, too fast, too tall. Not animal, not man. Just the ripple of a silhouette. Then the walls began to hum again, low, like breath being drawn inward by the structure itself. Back at the mirrored chamber, the heartbeat had stopped. Both hearts, flat-lined. The altar cracked open, and inside, not bone, not relic, a name, burned into stone, written backwards in mirror script. Solomon. He hadn't been buried. He had buried something else. The sarcophagus lid creaked open. Slowly. No dust escaped. No body inside. Just a deep, gaping hollow. At the bottom, a pool of liquid mercury, and a reflection that didn't match the viewer. It moved on its own. Smiled. Then turned away. In the final chamber, tucked behind the ancient throne, they discovered a wall carved with 72 names, each one tied to one of the Shem HaMephorash, the angels of the ineffable name of God. But a 73rd name had been added, scorched in, recent, raw. And beside it, a handprint burned into the stone. The biometric analysis confirmed it. It belonged to someone on the team. Someone still standing there, watching the wall, frozen, unblinking. When the lights finally dimmed, the throne lit from beneath. Carved into its base, in every known script and a few unknown, was a single sentence. engraved so deep it cut through the stone. The king returns not when the people remember, but when the world forgets.